Good morning, welcome back. It's Monday the 6th of January. Do grab yourselves a super cozy drink and settle in because hopefully you are at home and you've got some time to yourself so we can sit back and enjoy a very wintry, very wet, snowy and cold vlog. If you live in England, you'll know that we were in the middle of a snowstorm over the weekend. We had snow on Saturday evening through to Sunday. I was waiting patiently for that snow on Saturday evening for what felt like hours. It did come down around 9:30, I think. It started off as sleet and then quickly became glamorous sleet. Snow is my favourite weather. We don't get it very often, and I felt like there was this hype in me to stay up and watch. We'd left the blinds up in the bedroom so that we could see the snow fall. I just feel like it's such a magical weather. I didn't want to shut it away. I wanted to be able to see it when it happened. And I did struggle to sleep that night because I knew that the snow was coming. Woke up on Sunday morning and it looked absolutely beautiful. But of course, it then started to rain. It's not stopped raining since. And the snow didn't last for very long, so we didn't get very much here. How much snow did you get? Did you have enough to go sledding? Did you go out and about? Are you stuck indoors? Are you able to get out to the local shops and things like that? I heard on the radio earlier on that some families had bought enough food for a month because they remember this a couple of years ago where they couldn't access the shops. Some places in the country have had an awful lot of snow, but where I live in Hertfordshire pretty much was hit and miss. The night that it snowed, I had several messages on Instagram to say, how is it snowing where you are? They're in the neighbouring village and there was no snow. So it really was very dependent on location. I think we must have just been on the edge of the snow storm maybe, but it was really nice to see it, I have to say. Well, as you can see, there are a few things set up this morning in the kitchen. I'll share that with you very shortly, but I wanted to talk to you about what today's vlog is going to look like. So let's go through to the main room, enjoy this cup of coffee, and then I can chit chat with you just so you've got an idea of what to expect today. Today is about wintering and how I do winter. It's about winter wellness. I'm hoping that I can share just some of the things that I do during these couple of months, January and February, that help me. I would also absolutely love to know your ideas too. How do you get through this couple of months and how do you feel about it? There's no one magic wand to wave spring here. Every single year we're in a cycle. We know that spring is coming, but I also appreciate and understand that January and February can be tough. So I'm hoping that I can share some of my winter wellness strategies, tips, things I do. I have learned over years that if I embrace January and February by doing a few little things that make me feel happy or that will help my mind, my body, my soul, I know that spring will be coming. And when I do these things that will look after me or protect me from the weather, I know that everything I'm doing is just that little step closer to the spring. Today's a working day for me. I was up teaching this morning. Many of you will know I'm an early years advisor and trainer. I specialise in phonics and I deliver one-to-one teaching sessions online. So I was up really early this morning, as was GB, and we have found that establishing that routine back in January to the one that we had prior to Christmas can be challenging. There are a few things that I do first thing in the morning that really do help me. First of all is coffee. You will all know by now that I am a huge coffee drinker, as is GB, and it's a real treat when one of us will make drink for the other one. So we try and take it in turns if we can, depending on work and that sort of thing. But we'll take a coffee back to bed, or we will be on the sofa here with the radio on. We do have 2 radios at home. I've got a radio here, and I've also got one next to my bedside as well, on my bedside table. And putting the radio on, something really light and cozy, I feel like helps me to embrace the day in a positive way. Years ago, I was a morning TV person. I would put the morning telly on and then be all consumed with negativity, really. I'm not saying that all morning telly is negative, but I do find that news is quite disturbing sometimes. They only share news that's newsworthy, and newsworthy are things that are happening in the world that are not very nice. And I've decided that that's not very good for my brain. First thing, I want to start the day in an open way. I want to be able to work in a way that my mind is not being taken up by worry about what's going on, things that I cannot control. My radio station, my presenters that I listen to every day are talking about day-to-day activities, walking the dog, what the weather's like, things that I can relate to. So I love to put the radio on first thing in the morning. And for GB and I think over Christmas and New Year, the routine can go a little bit skew-with. The start of January, when children go back to school or you're going back to work, it really is the time to embrace, as hard as it is, embrace that routine. And we always say the hardest step is that first step. And if you can get over that step, you've won part of the day, and that is putting your feet down on the ground. And there was a radio presenter we used to listen to called Chris Evans. You'll know of him if you live in the UK. He often says that when he puts his feet down on the ground in the morning, he will say to himself, today is going to be a good day. And it is a weird thing because GB and I will try and say that. Chris Evans saying that most days on his radio station has put a little seed in my mind that I now do it. But saying that to yourself, or sometimes I might say it to GB, especially if it's one of those really dark mornings like this morning, the 6th of January, when routine is really starting this week. Come on, it's going to be a good day. Let's put our feet on the ground, stand up, let's feel the ground beneath us. We are here, we're alive. I think those words for me have helped me so much. Just really embrace the day. no matter what the weather is like outside. How are you finding January so far? Are you a wintering person? How do you do winter? Do you embrace it, or do you very much hide away? I find winter such a beautiful season. I really understand how the seasons change, and I know that spring is coming. Spring is on its way, but I know that I've got to get through these next couple of months to get there. But if you start looking now, there are very, very early signs. I like to think of myself as nature does. The trees rest this time of year. The animals recover, recuperate, and get ready for the spring. They're stored up food. They are storing up their energy, ready for brighter, sunnier days. Today is really about sharing some of the things that I do to help me through these darker, colder months. As I mentioned earlier on, it is a working day for me. So I was teaching earlier on this morning, and then I am teaching later on this afternoon as well. But I do have this gap of time between this morning and later on where I really do want to create a very cozy wellness day. And I thought it would be a great day to vlog, just to share some of those things that I do with you. We're going to start off in the kitchen, and that's because I like to think about my senses, particularly in January when I need to focus. And we're going to create a simmer pot this morning just to bring some beautiful wintry smells into our home. I'm going to go make myself another cup of coffee. I'm going to pop the radio on, and I'm going to share with you a very simple wintry simmer pot. Come on, let's go.
A number of Met Office warnings for snow, ice and heavy rain are still in force across much of the UK.
Coffee in hand and the warm coffee against my skin is just incredibly comforting in what is, well, let me say, I'm looking out of the window and there is rain dripping down from the windows. We've not really got a lot of light to today. I'm not sure that we're going to see the sunshine. I don't think that we are. I often use the word comforting or this brings me comfort. And it's something that GB and I often talk about because he will question me and say, well, what do you need comfort from? It does make you think, what do I need comforting from? And there isn't something particularly that I need to be comforted from, other than what I would say is the elements. I am somebody who is stocked up. If we know there is a snowstorm coming, I'll be first, as you know, to have the hot chocolate ready. I make sure that we have got bread, butter, milk, eggs in, and I make sure that I've got enough of those just in case we get snowed in. And I know for some people in England that has actually happened to you over the weekend, and I really hope that you have got enough in store. In Yorkshire, you do get a lot of snow and you are prepared, and I know that you have to be. But I always am somebody who gets quite excited about the thought that, well, we need to bunker down. We need bunker? Is it hunker? We need to hunker down or bunker down. Let me know. I really don't know if it's we need to hunker down or we need to bunker down. But you know what I mean. I am somebody who loves to be outside, embracing the weather. And I think that part of that is because I know that I'm then coming back in to my home where I feel cocooned and I feel safe, and there's warmth and there's candles and there's warm lighting, there's twinkly lights. It's a place that I have created where I really understand the meaning of home, just like the animals do during hibernation where they burrow down and snuggle up. I definitely feel like that. And for me, the word comfort is definitely that feeling of coziness. Having that cozy environment at home and knowing that I've been out I've battled the weather, I've made it, and I've got back into my own nest, my own safe place. I'm somebody who gets very excited about that idea that we are safe in our cocoon that I created at home. I am definitely somebody who nests. But I said earlier that we were going to make a simmer pot. This is the most beautiful wintry simmer pot out there. I think you will absolutely love this, and it will fill your home with winter joy. And smells either bring back memories, they make you feel cozy, they make you feel warm. And this is something that I will do any day. It may be if I've got friends coming around, or GB and I have got a working day where we are both at home. He loves the smells of home, and this smell definitely means home to us, and I can't wait to share this one with you. There is so many different simmer pots online. I particularly like this one because the ingredients are really easy to find. You may have them already at home, but if not, they're simple ones that you can pop on your shopping list for next time you go out. So let's get this simmer pot going. So you'll need a pot or a pan to put this in. This one's from IKEA. I absolutely love this. I think it was £45 cast iron. The ingredients that we need today are 1 orange, 1 apple, cloves, cinnamon sticks. The sticks work really well. You can use the powder, but I found it does make the water go quite murky. And then some vanilla extract. We're going to start with heating up 3 or 4 cups of water. Slice the orange and the apple. I can already smell the citrus of the orange. It smells beautiful. I'm going to do the same with the apple. Around 1 tablespoon of cloves. One tablespoon of vanilla extract. And then 2 cinnamon sticks. I'm going to give that a good stir and let it do its thing. Well, the simmer pot is already smelling beautiful. All of the juices are going to start combining together, and once that heats up, this whole apartment will smell of winter. So I'm going to leave that going. The weather today definitely calls for soup. We've had snow at the weekend. It's not stopped raining. It's very, very cold. It's very, very wet. Soup on the stove will be just what we need to help us get through the day today. I often keep a couple of these for when we have soup at home, especially if I haven't got time to go out. This one is just from Tesco, but I find them really handy. It just means that you can have nice fresh bread when you serve up your soup. So we're going to pop that on now. You do need to give yourself a good couple of hours before you dish up your soup, because we do need time for the dough to prove, but I'll walk you through how easy this is. You just simply add water. I think we're going to have a tomato soup today, so this wholemeal bread will work really well with that. Let's find the plain flour for dusting. Hot chocolate and marshmallow snowman toppers. We'll have those out because I'm sure we'll want that later on today. My pasta, it's right at the back of the cupboard. Oh. I have to tell you, the smell of the simmer pot is just incredible. Come over and have a look. As I mentioned, these are so good if you want the feeling of having fresh bread with your soup, but you know you're not going out and about. That's the flour mix there. And then this is 340 millilitres of water. And it's just a case of getting the dough ready to prove. I like to have just a drop of water on the side because sometimes it does need a little bit more than you expect. As soon as I start making the dough, I like to get my hands in because I find that that is the easiest way to combine the flour with the water. I think it's about ready. My hands are clean because I've washed them, and I'm going straight in. Have flour ready and a bit more water just in case. That simmer pot smells incredible. This is the perfect way to get through a winter's day like today. I'm going to lightly flour the clean surface now. Just knead it together for around 3 minutes. It doesn't take long. We do batch cook the soup so that we've always got some. It's a great lunch for us, especially on a busy day, or like today when we've got a very typically British grey weather day. The dough is going into a fresh tea towel. I love my linen tea towels. These are from H&M and I love the size of them. I'm going to pop the dough in there. This is going to be proved now for around an hour and a half. If there's one thing that you do this January, please have a go at creating a simmer pot. It is just the most beautiful, natural, warming. This symbolises everything to me about being at home during this season. There are so many different types online. You can use herbs, spices. If it's a really refreshing scent that you want, lemons, limes, mint would work really well. I wanted to keep grounded to the season because I very much live through each changing time of year. This to me is winter in a pot, and if I could bottle this up and give this to you, I would. It is just beautiful. It really will make you feel so much better, particularly on a very grey day like today. This is why I love pottering at home, making a mess. I've got my spatula full of flour, my half-drunk coffee, my measuring cups, my bread is proving. We're in a right mess, there's flour everywhere. I've got my smells coming here, and of course my hot chocolate and my marshmallows over here. GB and I did treat ourselves to hot chocolate and marshmallow over the weekend whilst we were waiting for the snow. I think there's something about memories of childhood, isn't there? And chocolate and marshmallows was something that my mum used to do for us on a very, very cold day, and it felt like such a treat. And it was always Cadbury's hot chocolate, just to speed up the proving time of the bread. I've actually popped it into the airing cupboard where it's really quite warm because it won't be long and it'll be lunchtime. I'm going to tidy up the kitchen and set the kitchen up for some lunch. Flour away. I think soup is probably the most warming food in winter, especially when it has been a very snowy, grey, dark weekend and there still is no light to today. It's a very heavy day. and soup will help to warm us from the inside out. You can see that the kitchen is quite small in space. You probably know that I use the coffee bar quite often. Over Christmas particularly, you'd have seen me use the coffee bar here, and I will do a little bit of cooking, baking. I quite often set it up like that because it gives me a little bit more work surface space with the coffee bar being out. But we also use it for lunch, we use it for coffee, breakfast, and even had our Christmas dinner on it too, to create a cosy kitchen for very warm lunch against this very grey day. I'm going to move the coffee bar from the back into the middle. It's just stopped raining. I can see people walking up and down the street. It's funny, isn't it? It can rain and everywhere be very quiet. And then when the rain clears, you start to see people again. An elderly man with 2 dogs and a runner, and I could see them having conversation as they passed one another. The elderly gentleman with his dogs out enjoying that the rain has passed, and the runner who can now run and stay dry. You could almost see between the 2 people that they were both relieved that the rain has stopped. This is the first time the rain has stopped since yesterday morning, so it is nice to see that there's still no sunshine. Right, back into the kitchen and preparing it for lunch. I've just got a soft linen table runner, this is actually, but it just helps to give a little bit of texture in here. I love to layer and use texture when it comes to preparing for lunch or for dinner. So I've got some seagrass placemats there. And then in the cupboard, we're going to go for large plates. We'll get some soup bowls out. Next up is the soup bowls. Spoons. Add in another layer with napkins. And I pop the bread basket in the middle, ready for our warm buttery bread. Speaking about bread, I'm going to leave the coffee bar for now and get the bread from the airing cupboard. Right, let's get that bread into the oven. It probably could have done with maybe 10 more minutes proving, but you can see already it looks delicious, doesn't it? So that's going to go in for around 30 minutes. In the centre of the oven. When we have something like soup, I like to take out the chunk of butter for the bread and just pop it into a dish so that it's easy for us to spread our bread. Butter on warm bread is the absolute best. I'm sure I could eat it every day if I possibly could. But once it's been in the fridge, it can be very, very hard, and it's so annoying when you can't spread it. So I always make sure that getting the butter out is one of the first things I do, just to make sure that it's really, really easy to spread, and then we can layer it on nice and thick. I think I might pop the chopping board just underneath so that we've got somewhere to cut the bread. Let's grab the bread knife. Where is the bread knife? If you watch the vlog from Saturday, you'll know that one of the first things I did in the new year was buy lots of daffodils. They were all in bud, but now they are fully bloomed. And pop those there. Just let's add a handful into this one. Buying daffodils in the supermarket is such a sign that spring is on its way. I think it's one of the things that lots of us do after Christmas is buy fresh flowers. In fact, I really struggled to find any fresh flowers in the supermarket. Everywhere was quite bare, but they did have lots of bunches of daffodils. And I feel like it's something that we all tend to do, fill our home suddenly from Christmas into the very first signs of spring. And I am so glad that I had these over the weekend. The other thing I love about daffodils is they are really affordable, they're bright, and they really lift the home during the winter months. The smell from the pot is still extremely strong. I've just covered it up really so that when we have our lunch, we can enjoy the smells of our soup. And then later on this afternoon, this will be back on. But because it's warm, there is still steam coming from the pot, and I can't tell you how pleased I am that I've done this today. I feel like I really needed that uplift, and it's definitely done that. Right, how's the bread doing? How long have we got? It says 11 minutes, so I definitely need to get the soup on. It's looking great. So probably needs a little bit more colour, I would say. I thought it was tomato and basil that I had ready for today, but it's not. It's tomato lentil soup. So that will be lovely. I love the tomato and lentil because it gives a little bit more depth. We probably won't need to eat so much tonight if we've got the lentils in there, because it really does fill your tummy up. What is your favourite soup this time of year? Are you traditional with tomato soup? Do you make soup yourself? Do you buy fresh soup from the supermarket or tin soup? I know that my mum used to love a can of soup. It was always Heinz tomato soup, and she had that in the cupboard over the winter, and it was one of her favourite things. She could have made soup, but for my mum, it was always Heinz tomato soup on a cold day like today. I'm going to call through to GB and let him know that lunch won't be long. What things do you do to get yourself through January and into February? Are there little strategies and tips that you have where you know that if you do those things, it will help you? I'd love to know your tips, strategies, any recipes, anything that you do that can help me, but also help our community. It definitely feels like we are all very like-minded and similar. We like slow living, we love the seasons, we love good, wholesome food. So I think that sharing tips amongst one another will definitely help us all this time of year. One thing I love to do with my soup is add an extra knob of butter once it's in the bowl. I know that might seem a little bit naughty, but I think this time of year, the extra calories are needed just to keep ourselves going throughout these colder days. GB has had all the smells going on today, so he absolutely loves the simmer pot. And now he's got the smell of soup and warm bread from the oven wafting through the apartment. We're fortunate enough to be able to work from home, so having these home comforts are a real treat. If you do go out to work, I know that lots of our subscribers work in schools. Something like a soup was just great because I could batch cook it and then pop it into the microwave in the staff room. If you work in education and you're either out on the playground all day, and I used to work in early years, so you'd pretty much wrap up and be out all day with the children playing, or if you are out on afternoon duty, you do need something nice and warm at lunchtime just to keep your body cosy for the afternoon. Steaming away there. It smells amazing. Can't beat soup on a very wintry day. Beautiful warming bread, wow. As I mentioned, I love a little bit of extra butter on my soup, so it's just got to be done. Bread is just so easy to do, and it does mean that you do have a fresh, warm loaf. Saves you going off to the baker's.
Hello.
Okay. There wasn't really enough time. Guess what I did to help the bread be improved? I don't know if your mum used to do this. Put it in the airing cupboard.
Oh,
Yeah. Good morning. How does the simmer pot?
cinnamon.
Mm.
I think the Amazon delivery man must have been like really jealous.
You probably can't smell it coming up the stairs.
Yeah, you can.
It's not even on now, that simmer pot.
Ooh.
It does continue, doesn't it? Just to keep going. we are just about finished from lunch and tidied away, and maybe 30 seconds ago, before I pressed play, the sun shone in. Still very, very dark out there, but just for a moment there was a slight light that came through into this room, which is really, really nice. I think having soup in the middle of winter, in that first couple of weeks in January, it makes me feel like I'm taking care of myself because I've had some soup. Oh, I did have a lot of butter on my bread. Wholemeal bread though. There's no harm in a little bit of butter here and there. But that was a super delicious lunch. The simmer pot is off, but the smells are definitely still coming really strong through. It's still warm. It's definitely still warm. I think cast iron probably does keep things warm. As you know, it's a working day for me today. I will be working later on. Just check the time for a quick time check. It's just gone past 2. Come 3 o'clock, I will be fully working, and I'll be working through to around 6:30 today. But I've been thinking about this evening, and I want to follow through with this wellness that I feel like I'm giving my body today. It's almost like a little bit of a winter treat, although I've not left the house and I've not done anything particularly glamorous to look after myself. I've done simple things actually today. Sorry, shall we just take a moment? The sun is out. The sun's out. The sun is out. I'm just going to move you around. Wow. Let's have a quick look out of the doors. Had such strange weather in the UK. Yeah, the sun is out, but it's very, very cold. Glorious. I feel blinded by the sun. I think it's really important just to embrace that little bit of sunshine. This is the first sun that we've had since Friday. Quite quickly gone behind the clouds. Well, just before the sunshine came out and gave us our well-needed vitamin D of the day, I was just saying that I was quite keen to continue with my winter wellness today and move that forward into the evening. GB has got his own things on this evening, which gives me an evening to myself. And I was thinking that I would love a super cozy evening in, wrapped up with my book. I'm reading a couple of books at the moment. I'll share those with you later. It won't be long and the night will start drawing in again. We have gone through winter solstice, so the nights are very slowly beginning to get a little bit lighter. Last night it was dark by 4:30, but I am going to embrace that this evening and just create an area. I'm thinking here actually where the sofa is. I tend to sit on the sofa that's this side, but tonight is a reading night. I think I'll have the radio on and I am going to make this into a very cozy, wintry nook. Have you ever heard of the word hygge? Hygge is a Danish word. I hope I'm saying it right. I think I am. I'm a really big fan of hygge style and a hygge home. Hygge really is about finding coziness in every day. There isn't really a word at the moment that matches that in the UK, or fika as well. Fika is another cozy word. Definitely look those up if you don't know about those words already. Once you understand what hygge is, you will start to notice it in your everyday, or it will help you to create that very cozy environment. One tick and I'll be right back. Hygge, the Danish art of happiness. So it's happiness, coziness, slow living. And then here is the other one, Hygge, a celebration of simple pleasures, living the Danish way. They are both lovely books and I would definitely recommend them, particularly for this time of year. I haven't put this book up for such a long time because I feel that I am very hygge in my style. I don't really talk about it, but it definitely is part of who I am. And just interestingly, again, I've opened the book and I would say this feels like my sort of kitchen this morning. So the process of making the bread rather than just going to the supermarket and buying it has given me so much happiness. It's meant that I could really enjoy that bread whilst I was eating it. It was warm, it wasn't cold, it wasn't in any plastic packaging. But this picture here really does remind me of my morning. Just spending time around the table together, embracing dinner, lunch, conversation together is just so important. And I think particularly this time of year in winter. If you are interested in how to hygge or a little bit more about it, do pick up these two books. I've had them for years. This one is almost coming away from its hardcover because I love it so much. I'm hoping to create a hygge style reading nook this afternoon so that once I have finished work, it's my first day back at work today, so it's not easy on your first day back, getting back into the routine, but so that I know that once I've finished teaching, I can come over to my cozy nook, my cozy area, have some lovely fruit tea and read for the evening. So I'm going to share with you now just a few little things that I do just to make this area a little bit more cozy than it already is. This is what the living room looks like on a day-to-day basis. So we've got the sofas either side, coffee table with some flowers on. So it's already quite cozy, quite relaxed. Today I'm going to make this sofa area even more cozy. I'm going to start by shifting the sofa back and you will see why.
Take me home, take me home.
Let's remove the flowers and I'm going to move the coffee table and the other sofa back the other way. Both sofas now have been pushed back. I'm going to move the coffee table over to GB's side. I've just got an extra cushion here, so I am going to make this more of a cozy area just by adding a little bit more puffiness. I'm also going to add this round one. I'm now going to add this bench. Got a couple of faux fur rugs. You can see already that we've got different textures. We've got the sofas, we've got linen cushions, we've got faux fur, we've got some velvet. It's already adding depth to this coziness setup. Faux furs are from IKEA, as is this blanket, which I'm going to put down for another texture, another layer. I actually made this crochet blanket. It's very, very heavy. It's herringbone stitch and the colours are dark grey, oatmeal and beige all together, which matches the living room so well. Sometimes I'll sit along, sometimes I might sit this way. I'm just going to add an extra cushion, and that is so that if I put my feet up on this wooden bench, it's not hard at all. I'm sure I said earlier on today that I didn't think the sun would be making an appearance today, but you can see the shadow on this wall always is just so beautiful. The sun is absolutely beaming through at the moment. As I mentioned earlier, the sun's not been out since Friday morning, so it's an absolute joy to see. It's really, really good for lifting those spirits, but I do know that we are in for another cold night tonight, so creating this setup will be extra cozy this evening because temperatures are going to definitely drop. What I love about creating a cozy nook for the evening is it's temporary. It's things that I already have. I don't need to go out and buy anything. I am just gathering together bits and pieces for a super intentionally warming evening. Or fur throws that I already use in my front room, extra cushions from the office, a lamp pulled forward. It doesn't really matter too much about what it looks like. It's about the feeling of embracing yourself in coziness for an evening of well-being. And I know that just having this time after a very busy Christmas is so important, and having something to look forward to after my first day back at work, which I'm very, very lucky. I love my job, I love working with the children, and I can't wait to see them all after their Christmas and have a catch up with them and just see where they are with their literacy. But knowing that I've got an evening ahead of me, knowing that I've got an evening where I can just be, just read, listen to some music and just be. I really feel like second week in January, this is truly needed for me. We've had a very busy home over Christmas. There's been a lot of Christmas decor, which is now down. I really believe that there is January blues because we've had so much light and warmth and joy and happiness over the period of Christmas, which for most people will start towards the end of November, that come January, it can feel a little bit flat. And I think that doing something like this just helps to get us through the month. I like a hot fruit tea. So if I had a big mug, it's just going to get quite cold. So I know it's a lot of pouring, but at least this way it stays nice and warm. To soften the window, I'm going to put out some drapes, and that will just help to create, again, another layer, keeping us cozy inside while it's dark and wintry outside.
Take me in, take me home, take me home, take me home, take me home.
It's a window that we've very much fallen in love with, but there are just some times when you need to soften the window for the evening.
Take me home, take me home.
We will sometimes have the drapes out for evenings where we have a film night or a games night, music on. It just gives a different dynamic to the room. Most of the time though, you'll know that we don't have anything at the windows at all. You can see how the softer lines really create that very cozy atmosphere in here. A very cozy, welcoming and inviting area for the evening, and I cannot wait to snuggle down. So there's two books that I would love to share with you, my fiction and my non-fiction book. So my fiction book is called The Vintage Shop by Libby Page. This is a great book. As many of you know, I own a vintage dress shop called Seasonally Dressed over on Etsy, and it's all about every dress telling a story. Libby Page, the author, has blended the characters together so well. I just don't want to put this book down, and I can't wait to find out what happens. So that's my fiction book that I'm reading. My non-fiction book that I'm reading is The Comfort Book by Matt Haig. This is a book that stays by my bedside. I read this very, very regularly. I love that it's called The Comfort Book. Interestingly, that's the word that I mentioned this morning, and I said that GB and I had this discussion about the word comfort. What do you need comforting from? And I feel like this book answers that completely. I was looking at this last week and I came across this winter comforts, and it really did pull me in, particularly because we're right in the depth of winter. Matt Haig talks about his love for winter, and in particular he says that it's actually the things that exist to protect me from the winter that appeal: the warm jumpers, the fireside chats, earthy meals, drinking hot chocolate. And I can really resonate with this. That's exactly how I feel. One of the things I love about wintertime is finding my jumper dresses like this one and putting it on and wearing it all day. It's loose, it's comfortable. I love that the cuffs come down over my hands to keep them extra warm. Then on page 83 at the top, he says, "In the depths of winter, I finally learned that within me lay an invincible summer. We all know that spring and summer will be on their way and that the year has a cycle. But if we can feel like summer inside all year, if we can find the joy in winter, summer will come even faster because we've embraced the season of winter rather than really pulling ourselves through it." I think if we can open ourselves up to something, it always feels much, much better. I just think this book is wonderful, and he's created it as such that you don't need to read it in order. I'll show you what it looks like inside. You can see that inside this book's designed to be picked up, put down. You can make notes in it. There's not loads of text. It's a really easy book, and I feel like it's one that we should all own. So just for reference, that one was The Comfort Book by Haig. I'm looking at the time and it's time for me to go and teach now. But after I've done that, I'm going to run myself a bath and then give myself a little hair treatment just to continue my well-being for the day. So I will catch up with you in a little bit. In our bathroom, we've got censored lights, and they're lovely because you can have them really toned down, calm the lights right down for bath time. So it's really super cozy in here. I've washed my hair this evening. I'm currently using Planter 39 Colour Brown. It's a caffeine shampoo just to help with perimenopausal hair. I've always been a bath girl. There is definitely something that I really like about the sensation of the warmth on my skin, particularly in the winter. I often will sit and read in the bath, although I'm going to be honest, I find it very difficult when I need to wear glasses. So if anybody has any tips on that, I asked an optician once and they said that they had never been asked that question before. And I thought, I can't be the only one who wants to read in the bath and I need to wear glasses. If anybody's got any pro tips on keeping your glasses steam free so you can read in the bath, then please do let me know, because I would absolutely love that. Quite often I will put my iPad securely on this shelf and I sit there in the bath so I can directly watch. If you've caught up with any of the Christmas diaries, you'll know that I can sit in the bath and then look through the apartment to the arch window. That was so nice over Christmas time, being able to look at the Christmas tree. But there is a big tree outside, and it's one of those trees that really changes throughout the seasons. So it's quite nice to sit in the bath, have some music on, have the door wide open so that I can see the run of the apartment. Having a bath can feel like a wondrous treat in the evening. I really think it helps to relax us, help us to sleep, help us move into the next part of the day. So when I'm having a wellness day, that is definitely something that I do. I did mention on my Saturday vlog that GB had bought me a white company dressing gown for Christmas, and this is it, and I love it. I love the length of the sleeves. Quite often with dressing gowns, they're really long, which means you can't wash up and just do general housework. But this dressing gown is 3/4 length, so you can wash up if you need to, just to continue a little bit more well-being of the evening. I've washed my hair, as you know, I've popped conditioner on it, I've washed the conditioner out. Tomorrow I've got a home day. I'm editing this video tomorrow, so I'm not going out anywhere, and it's a good opportunity for me to give my hair a little bit of love and care. You probably know by now that my hair is very thick. It's in much better condition now than it has been in the past. I do feel like it is thinning slightly. I'm 41, so it is expected at this age. I want to continue to look after my hair, particularly as I'm going through perimenopause and moving on to menopause. So I use rosemary oil. If you're not sure if your hair will take rosemary oil or your skin will, it is recommended to put it with a carrier oil. To get my hair to the condition that it is now, I have used rosemary oil so much in the past, and I know that my scalp can cope with rosemary oil neat. So it's something that you can do, but you just have to be a little bit careful because everybody's skin is so different. I buy the rosemary oil with the pipette at the top here, which means that I can just direct it straight into the roots. So all I'm doing is running it straight through. Unfortunately, rosemary oil doesn't have a particularly nice smell. So if you're somebody who finds smells an issue, I would say keep away from rosemary oil. Now that my rosemary oil is in the top part of my head, I'm just going to give it just a little bit of a massage. That top section is done. I'm going to continue just putting a little bit in this section as well. Winter wellness for me is not just about my home. It really is about me as well. My mind, my body, my soul, my skin, my hair. So rosemary oil in my hair is like a little bit of a treat. I will take this out tomorrow. I'll wear my hair down this evening with the rosemary oil in. Then I will just tie it up in a very loose bun on the top of my head for tonight. Something that's not too tight. I really don't want to be pulling at my hair shaft. Whilst I've got the rosemary oil out, I'm also going to put some neat on my face. I do recommend that you definitely test this before you do it. My skin is used to rosemary oil and there's lots of benefits to using it, but you just have to be very, very careful. Everybody's skin is so different, and I certainly don't want to be recommending something that works for me but may not work for you. When I first started using rosemary oil, I spoke with my healthcare provider in our local health shop in Hitchin, and if you're local, you'll know that the man in there, I can't think of his name, he's absolutely fantastic, and he really talked to me about rosemary oil and how to start using it. So I know that for me it works, gives my skin a real radiance and helps with my redness. I've spoken about it before. My skin is toning down slightly, but I do tend to have a very red nose and red cheeks. I know I've just had a bath, so I am going to be red, but generally my skin does have very red tones, and I remember that my mum used to always say that about her own skin as well. Rosemary oil is known for helping redness in your skin, so I will just use one small pipette, rub it all over my hands and then over my face. I actually quite like the smell of this. GB does say I smell like a pharmacy. Afterwards, I just very gently like to pat my face. This simmer pot has lasted all day. I'm just going to pop it back on again just to warm up the water and bring a little bit more lift back into the home. But our delivery drivers today have honestly said, what is it that smells so nice coming into the apartment block? And I think it must be this. I really hope that the simmer pot helps to inspire you to do something similar. Similar. As the evening draws to a close, I really hope that you've got a little bit more of an insight about how I do little simple things in my day to help me either get through the day, think about well-being, and just to keep cozy during the winter months. I've been lucky enough today to be able to squeeze some me time, some winter well-being time into my working day. But at the weekends, I always find it's a good opportunity just to take a little bit of time out. I've talked about this before, but sometimes I feel like the pressure on doing something at the weekend can be quite strong or quite intense. And having the simplicity of just doing really basic things is really, really good for us. I think normalizing taking care of ourselves is so important. We're always in a rush to do things, go places, be somewhere, or have got something to do. I think sometimes after the weekend, the pressure of knowing what to say to people, neighbours, family, friends, there's that common question, oh, what did you get up to at the weekend? And it is totally acceptable and totally normal to say, oh, I've recharged this weekend. It's okay to spend time not doing a lot. I think that's really good for us. It gives us that time to recharge. That leaves me with 5 words taken from the Comfort Book, page 83. Warm means nothing without cold. Warmth is on the way, but we do need to get through the cold first. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Please do keep in touch. I love reading your comments. I love getting to know you all. I will see you all again on Saturday. I am off to my Hygge reading corner. I'll see you at the weekend. Bye for now.